Okay, well, good day, everybody, and welcome to the Tuesday, March the 17th Committee of the Whole meeting. Happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone, and hopefully everybody's pot may be full of gold by the end of the evening. Never know. Only a little luck of the Irish goes a long way. So I'd like to call the meeting to order and acknowledge that the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Taha, the Silks, the Syks people. It is home to the Métis and many diverse Aboriginal persons. We honor their connection to the land and rivers and respect the importance of the environment to our strength as a community. We have no late items, but we do have a little change to the agenda, so I will be asking for an adoption as amended. Item 6A has been canceled for this evening. The Executive Director of NMAG is not well, so will not be able to do the presentation tonight. So 6A is canceled and we'll reschedule that for some time in the future. So if I could have an adoption of the agenda as circulated.
As amended.
And as amended.
Second.
Okay, that's been moved by Councillor Tate, seconded by Councillor Woodward. All those in favor? And that carries. We have the adoption of previous minutes of the February 17th, 2026 Committee of the Whole meeting minutes. Is there a mover?
Moved.
By Councillor Woodward, seconded by Councillor Lockenberg. Errors and omissions, councillors?
No.
No? Oh. Okay. All those in favor? And that carries. So then moving right into item number 6, we're going to jump right into 6B, the business license bylaw review. And we have Christina in the hot seat tonight. So you're getting down. Tell us again, how much time you have?
May 1st is my last day.
May 1st. So, yeah, it's been wonderful having you here. So the city intern, Christina Flecken, will present an overview of the proposed updates to the City of the Nelson's business license, regulatory bylaw, and provide a summary of feedback received through the public engagement process. So over to you, Christina.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So I'm here today with a quick update on where we are with the new business license bylaw. This will be structured as an information session with the opportunity to ask questions before we bring the bylaw to you on April 14th. So I'll start with our engagement and the what we heard report. So for the engagement, we did get fairly low numbers. We got 13 responses to the survey. We promoted it through newsletters, so the city newsletter, the Canadian Federation of Independent Businesses newsletter, and the Chamber newsletter. We had 3 articles in the paper about our engagement, as well as 1 section in the Nelson Star's Business Buzz, and then we had social media posts and website posts. The low engagement is not too surprising because this, in combination with the fact that many of the responses were positive about the business license bylaw, likely indicates that the business license bylaw itself is not a major issue for business owners, and using this feedback, we're just moving forward with just kind of cleaning it up, modernizing it a bit, and fixing any issues in it. So one thing I wanted to point out before I go ahead is that on page 7 of the What We Heard report, there is a mistake where 0.5 should say 30.77% or 4 people said 1 star instead of 4 stars. It says 4 stars there currently. So just wanted to point that out quickly. So yeah, a bit about the engagement. We did a quick poll, as council suggested earlier in January, where we asked people if they would prefer to pay for business licenses through property taxes or just through the business license fee as they currently do. We got 6 responses to this poll, and 4 people, or 66.67%, said they would prefer to pay through business licenses, while 2 people said they'd prefer to pay through property taxes. And the main feedback we got from the engagement was about arbitrary fee categories, which we're working on cleaning up, cannabis business regulations that are too strict, which we're also working on cleaning up, and about home-based business license requirements. And this is all detailed in more detail in the engagement report. And yeah, a majority of the people in the survey said that the business license process is fairly straightforward to deal with, and they don't have many major issues with the business license bylaw itself. So again, based on this, we're going to move forward with doing major housekeeping changes and nothing too major to the bylaw. No changes that are too major. And one more thing I'll point out about the engagement is that we put in the engagement a proposed fee structure that's much more simpler than the current fee structure. And a lot of people said that they like this simpler, more consolidated fee structure. So yeah, we're gonna move forward with simplifying the fee structure. So that's the report. So I wanted to highlight some major changes that we're looking to make in the bylaw. So this is based on review from the Finance Department, Development Services, and the Engagement, as well as Corporate Services, Police, Fire, Bylaw, basically every department at the city. And so some of the major changes will include strengthening the definition for license inspector, as it's a bit unclear right now, adding an exemption section, which makes it clear which business types don't need a business license. The cannabis and taxi sections were very outdated, and a lot of the text in those sections overlapped with provincial requirements, which means we as a city don't need to regulate these rules. So we're gonna eliminate majority of these two sections, and likely if there's anything that's, we should keep in the bylaw, we'll likely just move it to another section, but we're not keeping any, arbitrary cannabis or taxi regulations that we currently have. We will add a section that refers to mobile businesses such as food trucks, since we have a policy for this, but it's not mentioned in any bylaw anywhere. Inter-community business licenses will also be briefly mentioned in the bylaw, and when inspections are required will be mentioned in the bylaw, as there was a lot of confusion in the engagement, as well as I've heard from customer service representatives in finance that a lot of times people can be confused about when they need an inspection for their business. So we're gonna try to make this as clear as possible in the bylaw. So that's it for the actual bylaw. So for fees and charges, so this is the approximate rough cost for a business license administration per year. Dev services, this cost accounts for inspections, checking and verifying provincial permits such as interior health permits and things like that. For finance, this includes charging business license, creating the licenses, answering questions, things of the sort. For fire, this is annual fire inspections. Police, it's patrolling commercial zones or calls from businesses about any issues, mainly on Baker Street where the main commercial zone is. And for bylaw, it's enforcement of bylaws, zoning in case there's a home-based business, for example, that is, not following zoning rules, and patrolling commercial zones again.
I'm just a little
Councillor Payne.
confused about the police. So what you're talking about sounds to me like their job.
Yeah.
So why is that listed as a business license costing? It's sort of a part of the business of running the town.
It's because the business area tends to have more concentration of people, so it tends to be more heavily focused on, there tends to be more, more need for police in the area, so this cost is just accounted for based on this.
Like having a beat officer or something like that. So again, as Christina pointed out, council could tax strictly for some of these services. What we're hearing, I think from businesses, they feel that the business licensing is a good fee structure to pay for some of these costs that we incur.
So do we know what percentage of businesses are downtown that would be incurring this? Because I thought
I
there
wouldn't
were
say it's,
many that were outside of the core that aren't benefiting in any way from this.
well, I think we have shoplifting, we have all sorts of things in
If
other
you're a
parts of the,
home-based business uphill.
and those fees are minimal, so they probably wouldn't be funding very much of this. It's your, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a policy choice. You can tax for these in the past, and there's a lot of other benefits that businesses get that that we can't attribute to business licensing. The whole visitor information center, right? Like I would say, businesses licensing helps pay for that, but according to the what we can charge a fee for, that doesn't qualify. It has to be sort of direct services to them. The whole downtown, the everything from the heritage streetlights to how much we maintain all those sorts of things. So it's really our downtown, our businesses per se benefit from all those things. These are this is allocation that you go here. We have to be able to show sort of direct costs that we're incurring as staff to support what we're charging in fees. And
I
that's
get that part, but I do question whether that's a direct cost. So that's my perception. What percentage of businesses are in the area that are benefiting from that police?
Yeah, and you could look at, if you didn't do it through business licensing, then you probably have to up the
Business class multiplier.
business class multiplier. Otherwise, you're gonna put that on residential taxpayers.
Yeah, I thought that's what the business multiplier was for. So we haven't included that before. We don't think that that's.
We have a business licensing. This has been funded through through business licensing. If you want to change it to taxation, then you would have to
Yep.
increase the
No,
business licensing.
I just wanna make sure that everyone having a service provided
Yeah.
is receiving the benefits
Yeah.
of those costs.
Yeah, and like I said, it's hard to, there's a number of benefits that are funded through the city, whether it's through taxation or fees. And unfortunately, the legislation sort of restricts, I'd allocate it a totally different way. If it was open, I think some of those other things are more, you can argue which bucket they should fit in, but I think if you look at the package as a whole, it's unfortunately, we have to allocate it this way.
And one of the challenges with taxation is you don't have much flexibility. It's based on assessed value and here's the rate. So if you're one type of business that maybe does need more in the way of fire inspection or police, we are not able to allocate the costs that way. You just look at it and say, well, this is your assessed value, so this is what you pay. Whereas with business licenses, there is a bit more of that ability to kind of look at it and go, okay, this type of business would require more service than this one, so we can be a bit more flexible and granular with how it works.
I've got Councillor Lockenberg next, and then I'll go to you, Councillor Woodward.
So this will be coming back to us for discussion, but I do wanna, I'm not quite sure how to do this, because I wanna give you guidance on what I'd love to see come back. So maybe it's gonna sound like a debate, but it's not meant, I don't know. So for you, Kevin, first the question, when you said what you heard from, or what we've heard from business, you were referring to,
Yeah.
so that's 6 people, just to be clear. That's, so kind of like,
Although,
let's be clear, it's not really relevant, I think.
as Christina said, if people felt it was unfair, would have heard from a lot more.
Sure, or if it even raised to their level of priorities in terms of their business. So like, it's kind of a thing that I'm used to doing. I'm not gonna take the extra amount of time to register my opinion. I mean, that's how I would probably just, it's not worth, but I still would have an opinion if someone came up to me and asked. My sense, where I'm gonna get to is, when I think about what the cost recovery of some of these things are, I think we're missing out on a few things. For example, the gas stations, gasoline or fuel service stations. When I look back over the years about what the cost to council, staff, and others related to, moving plumes of gas, from gas stations and the, especially if you added it up over the lifetime of that plume, the actual cost to the city staff, city council is much higher than $200. Especially if you were looking to relate it to a retail store over 1,100 square meters, 1,116 square meters. I would say the gas stations were much higher, like order of magnitude higher. So I'd like to see that license fee go way up. Because sure, there's costs to mitigate those that they're paying in other ways to mitigate that plume, but those costs don't reflect the cost to the city at all. And the only way I could imagine capturing some of that would be through business licensing. So I'd say that one. The vape and tobacco, I've discussed it before, but I've had, just me alone, in terms of talk, when as a city councilor, when I have people come to me about the issue or the related issues around vape and tobacco, already we're beyond the cost recovery of just me of $210 a year. So that one I think could go significantly higher as well. The other ones though, the businesses that are directly bringing value back to the city, like clear demonstrable value, like the businesses and restaurants, the business on Baker Street, I would rather see those be much lower. But again, if they're not complaining about it, maybe it's not as big an issue, but I do, on the scheme, like in the bigger scheme of things, I think, yeah, there's a policing cost, there's some of our costs in terms of signage, bylaws, and all of those things. So there's a cost, but they're also responsible for bringing so much value beyond taxation back to the city, even to city council and to staff and to the city, that I think to see that be less, but it's not that much to begin with, but still. Yeah, so those are some of my feedbacks on some of the fees.
And I think we can check with Leo, but we can't charge business licensing based on sort of what value we believe they bring to the.
Yeah, that's where I was a little soft on that one.
Yeah, we can't.
On the cost side for things like the gas stations, the vape and tobacco shops,
Yeah,
like,
we'd
for
have to
sure.
check on some of those, like, again, we're restricted a fair amount by what actual estimated costs that we're incurring ongoing, and development services, we can check the gas station piece, because the reality of taxation is when you pollute your land, it's worth less value, and so you get a tax holiday by actually devaluing your land, which seems, we've lobbied for years that they should be taxed as greenfield sites, not brownfield sites, because you polluted your own property and now the assessed value is down. So I don't know what leeway we can check on that one, what leeway we have. We can talk to development services about what direct staff cost goes into managing it. And it's, cost related to the business licensing regime, not, so you'd have to look at sort of what services you provide under that business licensing regime if you.
But is it though? Because when we did the cannabis thing years ago with that really high business licensing cost, it wasn't that the license, the administration of the licensing fee was the cost. It was because we imagined there were policing costs and other costs
Bylaw
there.
costs,
So it's
so
beyond
those direct costs, you can. If there's development services,
But we know, for example, just to be clear, on the gas station, we already know very clearly that we've had incurred time, which is the cost we're talking about, of this chamber, of staff to deal with plumes that are moving. Even if it's like on a consulting basis, even if it's on like, well, we're trying to decide on property we might acquire, and yet now we've got this to deal with, and then there's meetings about it, and you know.
We'll look into it.
Okay.
I'm just saying that there has to be a link.
Can I ask one more then related what is our cost or the rationale for the interior spaces of a mall, the retail sales in a interior common space of a mall?
I think you're talking about the different storefronts in a mall.
Yeah, I'm just wondering
And the
like,
mall,
why
is
would
the
that
mall
be
itself,
different
I guess.
in a mall versus not in a mall? What would the
Well, I
difference
think
be?
that's talking about the common space, I assume,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
the mall itself versus the stores in the mall, right?
The mall as a business.
The mall pays one business license fee.
It could probably fit into the retail over. It could probably fit into
The
the
retail over, 1,100
line above it.
square meters.
way, just
I'm just-
to further simplify,
To
right?
simplify it for sure.
Yeah.
But sorry, in my understanding then, is that what it means is in retail sales in interior common space. So if I have a,
It's a kiosk.
Those
Yeah.
kiosks, yeah.
that's,
Yes.
cause it's,
I see.
Christina,
It's
can you
quite
help us on that one?
Is that one?
That, I think we can look into that, we just left that in there because we thought it might I don't know, shuffle things around too much, but we'll look into that more and see how we can make it more clear exactly what that means.
Yeah, is a mall. Is a mall a retailer of space? Or is it a landlord?
What is a mall?
What is a mall?
God, now we're really going down the rabbit hole. Can I have counsel, are you,
To mall.
done.
Counselor Woodward, we'll,
Thank you.
we'll try a new question over from the other side of the room.
No, Kate.
I was just Leeds. I was curious about a little bit more information about this. When I saw this idea of, how some businesses are definitely use the city services a lot more. Like a clothing store is very different than like a restaurant. And a restaurant through a summer season is probably you're gonna see fire, you're gonna see police, you're gonna see bylaw. There's gonna be use of those services far more than like a clothing store. And I was when I was thinking about all this, I was like, are we? I hope we're capturing all of that, because these are very expensive services, as we've seen as we've gone through the budget season, and only getting more expensive with each year. And so I really hope that we're capturing that cost. I don't want to overburden businesses at all, but then again, taxpayers are paying more and more each year for all these services, and some businesses are definitely using more than others. So just making sure that we're capturing all of that.
That's the goal with this, and we've looked a lot at the current business licenses and where, if we change to this fee structure, where, for example, ABC business would fall under, so that's the goal, the ultimate goal with this,
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it was just an interesting, I was thinking about it, how much difference is, if you think about Baker Street, how much difference is all the different businesses and the uses of all those services.
Yeah.
It's very different.
Exactly.
And I think, Councilor Woodward, just into your talk there, is that some businesses draw more people, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're drawing more need for police or bylaw, because my hairdresser's on Baker Street and probably
Super busy.
4 mornings a week calls for bylaw or police or the ambulance to their property. And that's when their staff is walking in the door and they're not actually making any money yet.
Right.
Right, so it's not just about people on the street, it's not about the number of people, right?
For sure, I understand that, thank you.
Can I just comment on the vape and tobacco? So I think you saw in zoning, we're not gonna zone for those, but we do have, I think, at least one that is grandfathered. So we do need a fee in here to for that grandfathered business. That's why it's still here, even though zoning is allowing those to be in our community in the future. But until that business, if it moves, then it would have to come for a variance to, to operate. As long as it stays in its present location, then it'll be grandfathered.
Councillor Page.
I was curious, going back to the conversation that Councillor Payne had initially brought up, is kind of like how that tie between those identified costs, that 87,000 to police, makes its way to the budget, and if we think that those types of establishments have some additional costs associated, how that, presents itself in the end, so that there is more resources for the CSO, the beat cop, or whatever it is that we think is happening there. And so if we were doing something geared here, there would have to be a very strong link back into some sort of amount of programming we were doing on the street to capture the ill effects of that particular, vice in the world and in our community. So how do we make that linkage, and how do we assign some different costs than just what we're already trying to contemplate in zoning?
Yeah, I think Christina did her best estimate and went to the various departments to try to understand sort of what costs they're incurring for businesses, and there's no way that, obviously, all policing's sort of role in the downtown is not captured in that $87,000. We're probably spending $1 million in the downtown, so this is a fraction of what we're actually incurring on policing in our downtown and other areas. We have
This is the component, if I may, Mayor.
Yes.
This is the component, this 87,000 that you contemplate is in the administration of business, the policing that we need business specific, right? Is that kind of what you're lifting up? Can you maybe tell me a little bit more what's in that 87? Do you remember putting those numbers together, and can you tell me what was built out of that?
Yeah, I think it was mainly, so based on discussions with the NPD, they couldn't give me an exact number because they don't track exactly when when they get a call out from a business, for example. But like I said, it was more of a general estimate about because the downtown core, for example, does require more policing, or because they want to keep the area accessible for tourists and stuff like that, and they want businesses to have success in that area. That was kind of an estimate they gave me.
That's like one FTE of a person kind of throughout the year, or most of an FTE, or 3/4 of an
half of one, maybe.
Half of a
Well,
police
no, that's what I'm
officer.
asking. What is the,
Maybe
maybe that's an FTE.
That might be the
equivalent.
that could
It's
be the
probably
CSO.
CSO, similar to, yeah.
Well, no,
Wage.
my experience in my spot has definitely been, we've been getting more of that CSO activity. We've had people coming and handing materials and asking questions and saying, this is how you can be a bit more secure as a location. So I can ground that and know that's happening and can see the difference. Okay, half an FTE. Okay,
Mayor?
I'm gonna go to Councillor Tate because she hasn't had a kick at the can yet.
Oh, yeah, I just had a question about where did the street performers and buskers land in the new structure? I was
Yes.
curious.
So we're not gonna require licenses for them anymore because we haven't been administering licenses for many years. I believe originally it was bylaw that administered licenses, and then it moved to police, and then I think over COVID is when they stopped administering licenses. And we thought it just makes sense to remove them because it's, it hasn't really caused an issue in the community really, and it's something that people enjoy. It kind of makes the street more lively, and it's mainly contained to Baker Street, so we thought sometimes over-regulation can be more harmful than under-regulation, so we thought it's just,
Give it a go.
not really necessary anymore,
On the list, Councillor Woodward, then Councillor Payne.
Thank you, Mayor. I was thinking about we're talking about the police and the fire and emergency service. I mean, those the needs for that goes up and down too. It's not like there's a constant need of police in these section of the downtown. I know, we've had more times where we needed more police, but we've also done a lot of work so that we maybe need less police or there's less need for police. Because people are being housed and being helped. And so that also is part of it too, is that, you know, from a few years ago to now, I would imagine there is a shift in the downtowns. That's what I've heard from the business community. There's been quite a shift towards a more calm downtown. So now I don't know if that means that we're spending more money to continue that calm, or if things are calming down. So it's hard to know. And anyways, thank you.
And it's not just, again, it's just not about downtown, right?
Yes,
So
for
these
sure.
business licenses extend beyond
For sure.
downtown into the residential area. I know people that have called bylaw and fire because of people in Airbnbs where
Sure.
the neighbors have called because the people renting the Airbnb have decided that they're gonna have a bonfire in the backyard and we don't permit fires in the city. So it's not just about downtown. It's like we sort of forget that some of these costs get expanded out to other areas of the town. And so there are examples of where we use these expensive services
Sure.
and that would be a kind of cost that I would see that when you're trying to look at a calculation that you would be putting in here in some capacity. Councillor Page.
Thinking about communication and the fact that we're taking buskers off, and then can we put a section in this? I know this will be a bylaw, but when this is out and presented as this grid, can we put a section saying not required? Can we say busker not required? Cause sometimes when it's not captured, people just don't get that clarity. I'm sure there's a couple other pieces like that where we know explicitly, or we made that explicit decision to say not required, but just having it as you look at, you found it, yep, don't need it.
Yeah, I see that we have nonprofit there, Councillor Page, as 0, and actually just for ease of reading, because I see this table, it's not necessarily alphabetical, so perhaps we could put nonprofits and then put things such as street performers or buskers, and they could be at the bottom as zeros or at the top. But yeah, like right now, nonprofit kind of stuck in the middle there looks kind of weird to me. So in terms of just streamlining the table a bit, Councillor Tate, you look like you're about to put your hand up again, so I'm gonna go to you next, and then I'm gonna go, okay, Councillor Payne.
I have two, well, the first question, I do have two. The first one is, when I was reading through, does clergy require a business license?
No,
Okay.
I don't believe so, no, yeah.
That was just on one of the questionnaires.
Yeah.
I was really curious about that. Thank you for clarifying
Put that
that.
on the no list.
And then the other
Unless
one
they're
is.
selling stuff, wares on the street
Yeah.
corner.
Well, I mean, I know there are certain clergy who perform weddings and things, so there's a fee for that, so it's sort of a business, but I still wouldn't have them get a business license for that. They must have to be licensed in some other way to be able to do that. I was just curious when I read it on one of the forums. And the second question is, I'm just curious why, with credit unions being separate from banks in the old fee structure, why you put them up together, because I look at a credit union as a nonprofit because it's owned by its members, which are normally in the community. So
Yeah, I don't think the ownership structure that determines whether you're a business or not.
So they're a
It's
nonprofit.
whether you're doing business. So they are transaction business, right?
Okay, so they were separate before for a reason that we
Well,
don't know?
yeah,
and
we talked
decided
about
that
it.
wasn't a reason anymore?
Yeah, we basically said, what rationale could we say that they're doing any different type of business than a chartered bank? Yeah. That was, I think, probably back in the day, they wanted to give a break to credit unions, but it was hard to justify that they're doing a different business than that. And they have to be allocated on the services that you're providing that business. You know, the only bank robbery I remember since I've been here was at a credit union.
Yeah, I think their service to community is what I
Yeah,
see.
which
as
we
they-
can't.
Which we don't get from the banks. I mean, do we get
We can't build a metric of contribution to the community, I think is what the CAO
yeah, no, I
recommends.
do hear that, but I'm saddened by it.
legislative reform.
That was one, do you have two? Sorry,
The
that was
clergy
two,
was the other
okay.
one, that was two, that's it.
Thanks. Okay, council, do you have any more questions for Christina? You know what, you said no more questions, and it doesn't seem like there's a lot of changes here. You might actually get this project completely wound up by the time you go.
It's nice work.
Yeah, thank you.
What was the date of the last presentation you made to us?
I think it's beginning of December.
Find it in my notes.
Yeah, it must have been because of public engagement, and we gave some tips on what we were, some recommendations on what we'd like to see, and it said between December and March was the Let's Talk Nelson platform was open, so I imagine it must have been December
Okay.
meeting, perhaps it was given during, not during, no, because we didn't do start budget then, so.
One last thing I wanted to mention is the home occupations category.
Yeah.
So, this is up to council, but the reason we charge a fee is because, sometimes there have been instances of home occupations, breaking zoning rules. So their business will expand beyond zoning, they'll maybe have some staff working in the home or, you know, have a garage full of whatever stuff for their business that breaks zoning rules, so that's just a fee in case stuff like this happens. And it is standard practice to include a home-based business fee according to a lot of other municipalities. But I wanted to kind of get council's opinion on this and any ideas on where you would like to proceed with home-based business fees.
So we did, just to let you know, we did kick around, you know, could we try to come up with some criteria, whether you should be paying a business license or require a business license, and if you didn't, we talked about, did you have people come into your space, did you get deliveries, those sorts of things that, you know, we may get complaints from the neighborhood, and or you're a contractor and your equipment's there and you're running your truck at 5 o'clock in the morning, waking up the whole neighborhood.
It's one that we get a lot of.
So we did kick around those, we didn't ultimately have a clear definition of when you would or when you wouldn't. The closest we came to was, you know, did you, get deliveries, did you, do business out of your home in the community or elsewhere? Do you have people come into your home versus I'm strictly an online business and I just transact outside of, well, could be in the community, you could transact in the community or outside the community, so we're having a hard time defining the two, that's why we didn't.
And one last thing
separate
I'll
that.
mention to that is that in terms of inspections, the only type of home-based business that gets inspections from development services is our daycares, so those would need to have at least the inspection fee, but yeah, we wanted to hear from council what your thoughts are.
You also inspect, just because I own one, bed and
Yeah.
breakfasts.
Yes, yeah,
So
yeah.
I don't own a daycare,
Short-term rentals, yeah.
but short-term rentals get inspected. Councillor Lockenberg, then Councillor Page.
I would say, I was thinking about this before, after the previous discussion we had, and I've softened a little bit on it because I feel like it's complaint driven. Like if, who's gonna, you're doing something, I'm just not gonna get a license and I don't care. What, like, so from that perspective, it makes sense. And yet if I did get a lot of deliveries, and not that that would be a big issue, somebody could complain about it and then at least you got some enforcement mechanism. So from that perspective, I'm okay with it, because some of these examples of like a contractor running his truck at 5 a.m, whatever, that makes sense. The other thing though is we call it a home occupation, and I was wondering about, well, two things. It's like these professional services in which I'm even grasping with that one, like the 7 professionals, 520, 160, like what's so special about a professional service? There's something there that I'm missing, because I think in my mind I am thinking of like, I don't know, a co-working space like the Jam Factory, and you've got probably 60 businesses in there, all of them doing work remotely, internationally, or somewhat. Are those
That's a really bad example.
I was gonna say, I would fall underneath, like, I would be professional, a physical therapist clinic.
Yeah.
How many staff do I have? I mean, so we have a couple of clinics in town that would fall into the over 7 physios there, and some that would fall into less than 7 physical therapists,
So
or
what's the,
doctor's offices. I'm considered a professional, I'm licensed, I have to buy insurance. I'm
right,
registered.
like the rationale there, what I'm trying to understand is, so for that, you would have people coming to your business, I don't know.
Never got a physio?
With the what's the
hard to
overhead
do
to
online.
like, what's the cost of the city for that's different from anything else, and like, what's the rationale for $520 for professional services over 7 professionals?
Well,
One thing I'll say is that that mainly comes from Dev Services, so they need to check any, like I said, provincial permits, RMTs, for example, if they wanna open a business, they need to have their certification.
Yeah.
So the more staff you'll have in an example, in an RMT, the more time it takes to check all these permits, so.
Okay.
And we're working on adding a clear definition for what professional means, so yeah, we will clarify.
And in that sense, what you're saying is that the $520 that we're charging for these professional services over 7 professionals is more than we would say for a restaurant, food establishment that's $135. There's more development services work.
Yeah.
For that, okay.
Yeah.
It seemed a little like hard for me to figure out, but okay.
And I think part of what we're providing a level of comfort to the community that you're properly licensed. We have done that check to make sure those things are in place and the building's safe to go in, and all, if we inspect it from a fire and an egress point of view, and all those sorts of things. So I think part of that's a larger business and more sophisticated, more rooms, more all those things that you need to make sure that that these buildings are safe, that people are properly licensed, et cetera, right?
It does make me, through the chair, it does make me wonder.
sorry,
Oh, I thought you
you're gonna have to
pointed at
know
me.
if,
Oh, my bad.
I had
The
Paige and then I had,
Okay.
then you can,
If you're riffing on his point,
It's a quick riff.
okay, so
with the chair's pleasure.
Paige is giving up his slot for the moment, so go right ahead, Councillor Tate.
It does make me wonder, and it bounces off of what Councillor Luchtenberg said with regards to professional. And we can define that pretty easily through legislation if we look at licensed regulated professions. That's pretty easy. There's 7 colleges and 18 sub-colleges and so on and so forth. But it does make me wonder about the differentiation between professional 1 to 7 professionals and home occupation. Because why would they not just be the same thing if you have 1 professional in a home versus 1 to 7 professionals not? I'm curious about the distinction there between an RMT in a single office downtown versus an RMT with their home business. And whether they are a legislated, regulated profession or not, I don't know that matters. You could have a life coach in a business downtown or an RMT in a business downtown. You could have a life coach in a basement with a alleyway entrance and a beautiful office space, or someone downtown renting a space. So I am curious about that differentiation. If we're gonna tidy it up, I'd throw that to the table. Curious about that.
And Christina, from Development Services, if I have my RMT business in my house, we don't inspect?
We don't inspect the house, they will inspect the RMT license to make sure it's valid, but won't inspect the house, no.
So I think that's probably relates to, if we think we should be doing that, then I think we would wanna raise the license to, our philosophy is we want, if people are attending these things, they should be safe. And, we can look at, should we be doing, inspections of those type of businesses. I know from the fire side, they've changed they've given more flexibility for fire departments to risk assess businesses to, so we can talk to the fire chief and see what
It could be in the
capacity and the
next
risk
phase of
assessment.
renewal
Yeah,
as
that's a
more
great
people
point, yeah.
change.
Counselor Page.
Just building on this conversation as you prepare the bylaw for return, I like the idea of the home piece being a volume-based metric like we have in professional, but there's homes where we might anticipate one person. I think it's also clear there's a piece there about how many employees before you're not really a home business anymore. You can't really run 12 employees out of a home-based business. It's not an appropriate land use. So I like that more, and I would pull away the daycare part, and I would just make it a metric that has to do with the volume we anticipate, whether that's, you know, daily people coming for RMT appointments or it's lots of deliveries. It's like the home-based part is how much activity is going on there, whether that's children out in the thing or that's just one person working in a very nice office and taking phone calls all day. Those are the two big differences for me. So I like how professional is laid out as some metric of a number of people that are coming and going versus a metric on what the business was on that daycare piece. And then the other place I just see as an opportunity to consolidate is retail, liquor, cannabis, and vape. To me, it's all the same cost. It should all just be one. We can take a bunch of lines out of this, which is just easier, get it down to half a page, third of a page. And then ownership changes. I guess the location change is really inducing some sort of building inspections. We think it's more. To me, it's just admin changes. If we're gonna charge $15, I would say don't even charge anything, just.
No, I think we inspect, right, the new.
Yeah, that's why the change in location is $100, because for any inspections, we charge $100, so.
Do we charge when people move into a new location?
If you change locations, yeah.
No, but like,
Oh,
if it's
initial?
vacant and someone moves in, then.
Yeah.
I've never been inspected for that, but I guess that's fire. Okay, fire's good, yeah. I'd scrub it, I'd take them all out. I'd just keep it even simpler.
Mayor?
Yep, so Counselor Tate, you've got yours all completely off that you're done. So then I'm going to Woodward and then I see Payne a hand up.
Thank you. I just wanna say, talking about riffing on what Councillor Page is saying is, you know, our family has used a number of services in the neighborhoods here and when I think about it, it's like, yeah, these services, like people are pulling up all day, getting out of their cars, using up parking spots, going to the service, leaving the service. There's a lot of movement, a lot of probably noise, a lot of congestion on the street, so that definitely would be impacting the neighborhood. And I just think about how as our family, we would just go and we'd use a service and then leave, and you're not, as a service user, you're not really thinking about the impact the neighborhood is experiencing, but definitely
But it's alive.
it's happening all day long, and so that is definitely would have an impact on that block for sure.
Yeah.
So that would have to be calculated in there. Thank you.
Counselor Payne.
Where did the mobile businesses go on the new fee structure?
Mobile businesses,
Depends if it's retail or all other.
yes, I believe, so this is in the dev services policy that they have. I don't remember exactly what the regulations around that are, but I believe that what you said, depends if it's retail, it would fall under retail, and if it's like a food truck, for example, it would fall under the restaurant/food establishment or licensed restaurant if they're serving liquor. But I will double check with dev services and get back to you on that.
So when you say retail, I'm thinking service. So a truck pulls up to my neighbor and the dog goes in and gets groomed and comes out, that's a service. So that they would have a business as a mobile business.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, just curious, I thought you mentioned it and I just couldn't see it here.
Hazard. One more around the room, or are we good, everybody? Okay,
So we clear them, hearing different things from different people. Some wanna consolidate more, some like where are we with the fees? Are there ones you definitely want us to adjust at this time?
I didn't hear any significant changes for the actual numbers and the fees, but to consolidate the fee structure, form some, so where there's repetition, and I do agree with the point that Councillor Page brought out about putting retail vape and tobacco with retail liquor. I mean, both of those are highly regulated, or all three of them are highly regulated. I mean, even cannabis are highly regulated by the provincial government, and so a lot of what goes on there has to be, like, we can't undersede, but we can supersede any regulations that the provincial government has, but they are provincially mandated, inspected, there's lots of rules that fall to them. They could all be together in a line, and administrative fees for the $15 adjustments, I mean, I think there's a way to streamline it. I didn't hear anybody, I'm trying to make as many notes as possible. I didn't see anybody here particularly put off by the numbers, and this does change a couple of them, so, and then just a bit better organization, and Councillor Payne has something.
Yeah, I was just a little confused because I did read that the current fee structure hadn't been updated. It sounded like it's more than 10 or 15 years.
It's been quite a long time.
So is that one of the things you're gonna do? Because I know with the special events, we did a cost of living, inflationary increase, so that's something that's gonna be applied to this as well.
Well, last time we heard, there didn't seem to be an appetite of increasing the fees. So right now, we're not proposing to increase them at this time. We billed for these now, right? For 2026.
Yeah, I think the idea now is to sort of clean this up, and then we could look at applying, in a future year, an inflationary increase on a little bit of an easier to manage schedule.
Okay, cause I'm surprised, $15, I don't think you can really do an administrative process for $15, can you?
No?
So I mean, by the time somebody walks in the door and says, hi, you're $15 in, and then if they ask for something, just saying.
So in terms of administrative fees, then Councillor Payne, am I hearing you put a motion on the floor to actually, I mean, that's what we're trying to do here, is change that. Should we actually be making that 25 as of this fee schedule change? And then I had a question to staff because I'm unclear, is it in a bylaw, can we build in that this has to be reviewed every 3 years? Or is that just part of the procedure that goes with the bylaw? Like, I'm just trying to figure out to make sure that this doesn't go off the table for 20 years again and then it doesn't come back. So 2 questions. One, Councillor Payne, would you like to put a motion forward around administrative costs and looking at an increase right now for this document that's gonna go out? And then my curious question is to, like, can we somewhere in there build that this has to be reviewed in 3 years?
So I'm not sure that I wanna put a motion on the floor, but I just need some alignment. If we're calling this a cost recovery model, then we're missing in a few areas. So do we need to examine that as we come forward with the new fee structure? That's all because that's gonna come back to us again. And the other thing that I noticed when I was reading through the budget, it does say, so I don't know if it's a specific policy for specific, but it does say we update our fees annually. On one of the budget sheets we got this year, I can pull it out later if you want. That was gonna be one of my questions, but so whether they're on obviously, I don't think we really wanna do all of this annually. That would be a bit much unless we just built the cost of inflation into it, but then you get some really wonky numbers that wouldn't be worth the administrative work of changing them. But yeah, I think we definitely need a cycle for doing this.
Okay, so I'm gonna try this again, Councillor Payne, only because of the fact that you're asking for, you're asking for alignment on cost.
Yes.
And it's coming back. If we don't send Christina away now with what we think the cost should be, we are gonna come back and we'll be looking at this exact same fee structure. She's not gonna pop it in there because she heard $25, because maybe it should have been 50. So that's why I'm asking for a motion if you think that that is something that should be considered right now. Otherwise, this table we'll come back looking like this table, and then potentially you'd be asking the same question again at that point. So
So
if
you
you
want me
wanted
to
to go
ask
away
the
and you wanted to come
administrative
back.
three things. So we're
Yeah.
assuming based on some of the explanations that we've had that the rest of these are cost recovery. You showed us the costs, you told us which categories go in. So most of these on this chart already are cost recovery, which is the model that we're going with. So if those three items, or if is it 3 or 4 administrative
I'll
items there?
say so for the administrative costs, $15 is an average estimate because it's fairly easy for our CSRs to change, like change of ownership. That just means they have to change the name in the system that we use to keep track of business licenses, or change of business name. It's very easy to just do that very quickly in the system, and then they would just have to reprint their business license. So our deputy corporate officer was telling me that can be very quick, like it can be a 5-minute, 10-minute
So then it
process.
is a cost recovery.
But there are obviously instances where it can take longer, but yeah.
So then no change required.
Councillor Page.
I would move the motion that we remove the administrative portion of the fees for the change ownership, business name, change of location, leaving the late payment. I think that's makes sense. I'd be punished by it, I'm sure. But I think those pieces, it's almost more time to then collect the money and do the thing, and it's running that service counter. I say we need to increase the other fees by $1 across the board to capture that $15 in the course of a year. I just say don't even, it's too much of collecting pennies at that point. I think it's more trouble and it stirs more pots, and I don't think it makes sense to me. So I would move a motion that we just scrub those as their own fee category, just keep it to the business license fee to have a business license and capture them in those costs somewhere if they need to be.
So just for clarification, you're getting rid of change of ownership cost and change of business name cost
And change of location.
and change of location.
Yeah,
That
I don't
requires
think it's happening so
inspection.
frequently, we can't just go do inspections like we need to when occupancy changes.
So I'd just say on, the principle of cost recovery is you should be charging for services you provide. I get the administrative point. I'd just be a little concerned that others are paying these costs now. If I go to a new location, we are sending bylaw and our business, our building inspector, our fire to that location. We are incurring real costs on those. The other ones are more minor, but anyway, in the principle of cost recovery, we're trying to match the services we're providing with the fee. And we charge small fees for many things, and maybe we should be increasing those to better reflect sort of a broader set of costs we're incurring. But anyway, that would be my only concern, is that we're to ensure that we're trying to match costs with the service we're providing. We eliminate the change of location because we are actually sending staff out there.
So is there a seconder for the motion that Councillor Page has put on the floor regarding the group of 3? You're seconding that, Councillor Tate?
Yep.
Okay. So is there any further discussion on that? Okay, because I made this mistake the other day, I'm gonna say it now, I'm not in favor of that because I do think change of location should be kept out. And if I was gonna bundle things, I'd actually bundle ownership, business, and payment fee and make it all $40, because I've heard the concern that walking in the door probably costs $15 and the price just goes up from then. So I think there's a better way to bundle it. And it's not like change of ownership, change of business names, or hopefully late payments happen all that often. So it's not like we're going out and gouging people. I don't think people are changing their business name, every week, because that doesn't make for a very good business model. So I will be voting against the motion that's currently on the floor. But that's been moved and seconded, and if anybody, no, Councillor.
would it be, are you suggesting potentially an amendment to it? Like,
Well, it's not, it's like, because I don't want the $100 in there, and whenever you're talking about money, like, so I think the idea would be is that you'd have to vote down the current motion and then another motion could come to the table as opposed to amending it. I mean, cause it's money, so it gets a little bit goofy when you start talking about the money. So there is a motion on the table that change of ownership, change of business name, and change of location be dropped as fees being charged. That's been moved and seconded. And I'm just looking for anybody else that wants to comment besides myself.
I just wanna be clear, like, are you going to then put forward this
Second
amendment?
Am I allowed to go forward a motion?
Yes.
Okay,
But,
yeah, then I will put it forward if this fails.
okay.
So I'll just,
You'll just-
I hear your intent, and I certainly we can test it. I again look at this and I say, yeah, the course of us administrating businesses, that's what business licenses are. These 3 fees are quite different in that structure comparatively to just the rest of the fees that capture the whole annual budget to produce services for that business class. And so on that alone as a principle, I say if there's more to that cost, then everything gets $1 added on to the end of it to capture it. Otherwise, the slicing and dicing at that precise level for how rarely I anticipate it really happens in the modern course of business, it's better just built into the overall cost, and it makes the whole list simpler, and it just makes us more business friendly when you're looking at a list of things that are supportable. So on that, I'd say, yeah, I'd put forward the motion to just scrub it in completely.
Can we just, only because she's done it, can we just vote and you can all vote no then if that's what you prefer? So it just makes it cleaner. So you've got a motion on the table, all those in favor? All those opposed?
Oh, what did we do? So fast.
That was that was to your motion that you said just scrub it, so now it's died, it's gone.
So
I
now-
feel like you ran past, can we get another vote?
I'm on this, and yeah, I just wanna thank Christina for taking this on during your time here, so that's been great, and we'll wait to see what comes back.
I'm excited. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on, let's see what we can get through here. We are having to go for a bit of a stroll for dinner. City manager?
Just maybe a couple HR updates. I'll turn it over to our CFO to give you an update on what's happening in the finance department.
Yeah, so you may have seen a posting go out for a purchasing manager. So you all know Suzanne Rorick, our purchasing manager currently. She's announced that she's gonna be retiring, early retirement this summer. So we've posted for that position to bring somebody in and hopefully have someone in place to ease that transition. I think she was thinking sort of end of June is when she would wrap things up. We just had her here doing her 15-year, where she got her award, right? Her long service award, and I guess she was just going for 15.
They shouldn't have given it to her.
Oops, it was 14, so you owe us one more a year.
So that's one, and so that's great news for her, and you know, she really wants to spend more time with family, and her family lives very close to her. Her mother and father do as well, so wants to be able to spend some quality time with them. And then speaking of family, we have another staff member who's going to be taking a leave of absence to have a new family. So our deputy CFO, Amy Mooney, is gonna have a maternity leave coming up this summer as well, so she'll be gone for a while. I'm still here.
Listen, Nathan.
Can I just ask,
That's
may I
amazing.
ask a question?
I'll explain that biology thing to you later. Councillor Woodward.
Thank you. So in this situation, how do you fill the deputy role then?
It's a great question.
Yeah,
You've all seen Amy's shoes, literally.
Yes.
They're tough to fill.
Yes. Sure.
But yeah, we'd look to see if we could bring somebody in for a year, and then, you know, we'll have to juggle some roles and responsibilities around to see, you know, it takes you a year to train someone for a position. So to see what sort of responsibilities we can shift to someone who's maybe only there for a year that are, you can just up and go and run with those, and then you know, the rest of us might have to pivot a little bit for this next year to kind of fill in some gaps. So this next year might look a lot different than the year after that.
And there's through the local government managers association, people that do retire, do make themselves available for other communities for short-term stints as one option. So anyway, obviously it's not unusual that these things happen with, you know, especially with younger staff that are starting families, etc. I think Chris mentioned Castlegar just had the very same situation with their deputy CFO over there. So yeah, we'll figure out how to fill it. It's you know, she says
I mean,
well, both those
Yeah.
folks are really critical to our organization. You know, Gabe did present the succession planning and identified that we're gonna have a number of retirements or in the next 2 to 5 years. They seem to all be happening in the next 6 months, but so.
Councillor Payne has a question.
Sorry, you said me? I didn't.
I didn't.
So did the posting just go up for the executive, what's Scott Spencer's title? I can't remember.
General manager.
General manager, thank you, sorry, I don't mean to.
I don't think it's,
Did that?
did it just go up?
No, I thought I saw it.
I thought
I
I
just-
just saw it.
I know I just reviewed the
Because the
job
timing for that
description.
is the summer as well, is
Yeah.
it?
And we are also in Nelson Hydro, we posted for initially an assistant line manager, but they're re-looking at that position and looking at maybe an operations manager there's a lot of work out at the plant that needs to be done and the whole asset management plan out there. So I think they're rethinking that one a little bit to bring somebody in. We know that the current line manager is retiring probably within a couple of years as well. So there's a fair amount of change in senior leadership at Nelson Hydro as well. The other position that we'll be posting, a couple other positions we'll be posting for soon will be the new ITGIS manager. That's, you know, this is part of the juggling the balls there is that you know, that will free up Nathan Russ for to work more closely with Nelson Hydro and with Suzanne leaving, you know, we've been having some discussion, you know, does that position, you know, pick up more procurement for Nelson Hydro and be more fully embedded in Nelson Hydro, what do we do with the small munis if we did that? So anyway, there's lots of discussion with people leaving about how we structure the work, so you know, it's a good chance to look at some of that work right now. You know, the small munis and all the regulatory piece for Nelson Hydro all happens at the same time, so but there's, you know, Chris has had some discussions, maybe we can, you know, do the work differently at the small munis to, you know, to not have that overlap of duties. So anyway, I guess the message is there's a bunch of changes there. That's, you know, we may look at how we structure different positions and, you know, even this position that we've advertised, it's been advertised as a purchasing/finance manager. So we're looking for someone that is not necessarily strictly can only do procurement, that we might want to use them in more of a finance role, depending on what we do with Nelson Hydro and procurement. So lots of sort of balls in the air as these changes happen. We've also looking at Public Works. We anticipate a retirement there fairly, probably sometime late spring, early summer there. A long time manager there. It's not general public right now, so I'm not naming any names, but that's gonna change. And we will, what else do we have? I think everyone's hopefully heard that Laura Harris was successful as the new chief librarian. So Tracy again is retiring the next few months, and Laura will take over, and so they'll presumably be posting her position as well. So lots of change happening on the human resources side of things.
Councilor Payne.
So can I ask a question about Nelson Hydro then?
Sure.
I was looking for something in my notes and I saw that it was, I think, back in November that the RFP went out for the AMI, and can I say any other? Yeah, we were looking at that time, I know that's a project that
Scott's been leading.
Energy was very keen on moving forward, so is there any update on that, I guess is the bottom lining of that question.
Yeah, they have gone out to the market and shortlisted the vendors and are going through the evaluation of them. They actually, Casey Smith has got more involved with this, with Scott Levin. He
Yeah.
went to a trade show somewhere in the US to meet with all the vendors there. They did some, they went and visited some other communities that have, the software and software, hardware, and just to ask them, how it's been working for them and how that transition, all that stuff went. So yeah, it's going down the line. I know it doesn't look like I think Scott originally wanted to bring this to council, the business plan to council in the second quarter of this year. So that's, I think, still on
Okay.
track. We're seeing much more favorable pricing than originally estimated. We're still working with BC Hydro as an option. FortisBC has also reached out to us to see if they could be involved. So there seems to be quite a
Wow,
bit of interest in this.
that would be great.
Excellent.
Councilor Page.
Building off that, given that we're gonna see this change, I do think that's a body of work in a field there's a lot going on in the first place. So to me, I'm less inclined to think we need to wrap it up or get it through all its decision-making points now before Scott leaves versus creating some space for someone new and specifically maybe recruiting and hiring based on some of the things that could be done, finishing that one up before someone else can come along and have.
Yeah, so we have, so first of all, it has to come to council to move this forward, and then we have to go, we're going through what's called a CPCN.
For us to have an understanding of what some of those advantages could be, how important those could be into the future when we're weighing that decision to put to BCUC. And that's about it. Like if recruitment is gonna lean in technically into what that project looks like, that's gonna be one of their major projects. So if we are thinking about what some of those bigger advantages would be and how we might need, what we might need for that, then happy with that, giving that direction as it is.
And that will all go, all that will have to go through the CPCN, so all the, the
makes
public
sense.
will be able to comment and you're right, all that information is part of the process they're doing. What else? Chris or?
Yep.
Chris?
So Chris.
Calendar here.
I have something CFO if I'm
Yep.
doing it.
CFO.
Okay, yeah, just a couple of quick things. One, we had a call, a few of us from staff with the Ministry of Forests. They're working on their new forest landscape plan. This is an exciting new tool of how they look at doing forestry planning throughout the sort of from a larger, broader perspective. Historically, it was looked at sort of as individual license areas. And this looks at the entire Kootenay Lake timber supply area. So myself and the fire chief have volunteered to be part of the advisory group. So this is primarily a process that's being done between the province and First Nations, but there is a place for local government to provide thoughts, et cetera, from the advisory group. So with us, especially with our watershed where it is, you know, we have some thoughts on that. I think it's really exciting to see it happening. You know, a tool that better looks at the cumulative effects of all the activity up there, and really looks at sort of overlapping objectives and how to kind of strike that balance. So exciting move that the province is making going forward with that. As well, just on the call things, I was on a call, and this is just, you know, that time of the year, you know, we're getting towards spring when we start hearing about when can we get our patios out. So I was on a call with Chamber Food and Beverage folk last week, I think. And just to let you know, same messaging, they were really curious, you know, as they're mostly to talk about Josephine. Of course, they just want, you know, we're mostly curious about patios, so we had a good discussion about that. May 1st is our commitment for patios. We always try and do it sooner. So those letters will be going out to them to remind them to get their applications in for the patios. And then as we get nearer to the day, based on our progress and weather and all of those things, we inform them of, you know, if we think that we can get it. Last year we opened them or let them go or open them on April 15th. And we let them know at the beginning of April that we think we're gonna hit April 15th, so you can get your planning done. So just so you know, that message was sent out there. And then two sort of work pieces. One, the finished water, good milestone with finished water reservoir up at the water treatment plant. We're through all the structural work, so now we're into just plugging all the plumbing together. So the giant concrete box that we built is now complete. And we are, plugging the pipes in, backfilling, et cetera, et cetera. So that's good news there. It was a good winter for it.
Councilor Woodward.
Thank you. Can I just ask, thank you, Mayor. Can I just ask what, in terms of, I guess, square meters, how much more water will we have now?
Oh, you're really gonna test me on that.
Is it doubling our capacity?
I feel like it was 1900 or something.
Yeah, it was around that 2000
Yeah.
mark. Let me follow up on that. It is, so there was basically the work that went in was understanding what the capacity we needed to meet fire flow requirements. So you can, you know, and those requirements are based on fighting a certain number of fires at a certain intensity of water usage. And we meet it with this, and it buys us some future growth as well, right? So it's future proof.
Thank you.
And as well, it does provide, the way that it was built provides actually more footprint for any potential expansion of the water treatment plant, which was, you know, hard to come by. So it's sort of like a prepping for the future in that regard as well.
Thank you.
And then the other piece on construction side is 0 Baker Street. So that was contracted out to Case Contracting. They will be the ones that are doing that job. And they're planning on starting in April. One of our manager of capital projects has a meeting with them tomorrow to discuss. And just a couple things around that, you know, it's gonna be a tight spot, getting down that road at Baker Street to the end, with 85 Baker kicking off construction. They've already moved in some trailers, so it's gonna be busy there, but the contractor has been informed that they have to keep the road, like, through the tender process, was informed that the road needs to remain open. As well, you know, focus on that intersection, and as we get into market season down at Cottonwood Park.
Mr. Johnson's number was correct. It's 2,000 cubic meters.
2,000 cubic meters.
So what's happening at 0 Baker Street?
It's the
Water main.
water main extension. Sorry.
Okay,
Sorry,
sorry.
yeah.
All
No,
of a sudden I missed something.
no, the water main extension that
Thank you.
will service 85 Baker and
Okay.
also prepare it
Got it.
for
Future expansion.
future expansion should somebody develop.
And a couple other things I'll add, so we have got a draft IT assessment strategy plan now. So we're working with our consultants. There's definitely a number of projects, but some really good direction on everything from records management to how we better train and utilize, software, how do we go to more enterprise-wide software as opposed to finding an individual piece of software individuals, departments need, so we'll share that with our team and share that with council when we get that finalized. Not fully related, but somewhat related is, cyber security is obviously part of that. We've done some good work on that, and part of that was, we had a call last week this week?
Yeah, it might have been yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday, with our insurers, so that is something that insurance companies are starting to be a core product that they offer is cyber security insurance, so we're looking at that. We are, with the work we've done, we're actually in a position to actually qualify for that type of insurance, so that's I think a good tick mark that we're going in the right direction. The good thing of that is, as they call it, the market has softened, so the premiums are quite a bit lower than they were a number of years ago. I guess it was a convergence of a couple of things that had skyrocketed that type of insurance. One was the ransomware during that COVID spike of it, and that the underwriters didn't do a very good job of underwriting and were exposing themselves to a lot of risk and had some significant claims. I think one example that was brought up, I don't know if people are familiar with the city of Hamilton and millions of dollars and that's cost the city of Hamilton from a cyber attack. And unfortunately, they had insurance, but they had an exclusion that if they didn't have multi-factor authentication, they're excluded their insurance, which they put in the policy, but did not have multi-factor authentication. So their cyber attack was not covered. But yeah, they seem to be pretty sophisticated in the field now. The sort of that coverage isn't just to cover the cost of the cyber attack, but you get access to specialists who everything from negotiating with the as they called sophisticated businesses that are out there doing this work, and we can all laugh at that one. Going, but from an insurance point of view, they are, I guess, deal with some pretty sophisticated actors out there that are that negotiate and there's they identify these ones you can negotiate with. They will honor what they say they will do, and these
They have
ones
24/7 lines, you can reach out to them anytime you want, so, yeah.
it's
An operation.
Okay,
Yeah.
so council, I'm just aware of the time, and so I would like to, if you have some questions for the city manager about our cybersecurity, perhaps you could ask him that over dinner, because it's not particularly confidential information. This is an open meeting. And I'm looking at trying to figure out, we didn't have council reports at the regular meeting. I don't really want to put it off. A lot of you have been away at many conferences and conventions and whatever. And really, the public is entitled to hear about that. I'm looking at trying to put this in after the delegations, keeping in mind as well that we do have a special meeting that we have to get through tonight after the cow. So I am gonna be watching the time and as we go along, and with hopefully that we will have time for council reports, and then we will close the meeting and move into the special meeting. So if I could have a motion to recess for dinner, moved by Councillor Page, seconded by Councillor Woodward. All those in favor, and that carries. Thank you.
You going murder the witch today?
No,
That's the point.
Okay.
Welcome, everybody. It's so nice to have people in the gallery, and I don't know if anybody back there can sing any Irish songs, but it's just so wonderful. Almost everybody's got a little touch of green on. So happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone. And we are actually pretty much on schedule here with tonight's agenda. So we are at the item number 10, the cultural presentation from the West Kootenay Regional Arts Group. So the West Kootenay Regional Arts Council will provide an update on their granting programs for 2026-27. The organization's expanded funding portfolio provides targeted support for arts and culture projects of all disciplines, festivals, and public art initiatives. So over to the two of you.
Excellent, thank you, Mayor, Council, thanks so much for having us. We have seen quite a bit of growth in our granting portfolio over the past couple of years, so we thought it was a good time just to give you an update about what's currently rolling out and what we have launching soon. I should say, we're also working on dropping.
Sorry, Mayor, I'm sorry. I just noticed the TV is not on over there.
Okay.
And so I'm just gonna
Probably just, reach underneath and turn it on.
apologize. Sorry.
And Kaylee Linz, I know who you are, but please introduce your partner there.
Of course, I'm
good.
Kaylee Linz, Executive Director of the Kootenay Regional Arts Council. We are working on dropping the West, reflecting our regional nature, covering the whole Columbia Basin.
And I'm Lily Anderson, and I do the grants, so I'm the CKCA Grants Officer.
And you'll hear more about CKCA, which is very much in Lily's corner. Really, we work in 3 buckets of programming. We provide direct financial support to artists and organizations, which you'll hear more about. We promote and amplify arts and culture across the Columbia Basin. I brought extra articulate magazines, as always, if you haven't picked up your latest one. Culture Tour is part of that as well. And we have a number of more sector-facing initiatives, things like supporting the digital capacity development of arts organizations across the region. Okay, and as I mentioned, we've really seen our granting envelope expand lately. Our core CKCA program was hovering around $500,000 heading into 2024-25. We then received the festivals funding as we're going into our second year, and we're now surpassing $1.25 million in grant contributions heading into 26-27. So really thrilled about our growing impact in the sector, all with the support of the Columbia Basin Trust.
And our granting programs, so we do serve individuals and arts organizations, so it's a combination of both. And they've been going for about 30 years, so we've had lots of time to really develop what's going on here. We have 6 full programs, one called Community Grants, starts at about $2,500 or less. So that's good for, sort of intro level projects or projects that are maybe a larger scale, but they might be looking for some artist fees or something to go towards a semi-larger community project. We have a couple of programs specific to arts organizations, one called Minor Capital, so people can purchase items for their organizations or do kind of renovations or different things in that capacity. And then another one called Arts Evolution, just specific to arts organizations as well, which is much larger, up to $15,000. So that range of $2,500 to $15,000 is kind of, there's a bunch of stuff kind of in between. We have a touring grant for different types of tours, not just bands, but all different kinds of tours, arts exhibitions and things. A mentoring and master classes program. Those are for arts groups, people wanting to learn kind of a higher level of something in their practice. And then major projects, which seems to be our most popular program. That one's a $10,000 grant, and it's for much larger projects, sometimes with the help of like Canada Council grants and things like that. So that's our 6 programs. This has been a developing situation here with us, so we've now got a couple of other things on our roster. And in 2025, the Nelson support, specifically just Nelson, we funded 24 projects, and that totaled $154,357. So this area is well represented. We tend to get a lot more applications from the west than the east. However, we do a pretty good job of balancing things out. So.
And that's specifically the city of Nelson, not even the surrounding.
Yeah, that's like
not including Caslow, not including the Valley, 150,000 and change right here in 2025, specifically through CKCA.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, oh,
And there's just a couple of the projects that took place. So one of them is the Polka Dot Dragon Festival organizers did a Day of the Dead event at a local what is that called?
Cemetery?
Cemetery.
Yeah, cemetery?
That's the one. I wanted to call it something else. And then Denise Marie, who did a tour through the Columbia Basin. Slava's Dance Fusion did a hip hop event alongside the Mentoring and Masterclasses program. And then, of course, our favorite, Lucas Myers, who did a tour of his one-man comedy show as Randy.
Yeah, good stuff. So on to our newer programs now. We wanted to let you know about the Basin Festival Grants Program, which started last year. That specifically started in 2025 because in 2024, one of the key support mechanisms for festivals coming out of COVID, the BC Fairs, Festivals and Events Fund, was discontinued. It was actually an election promise, so a lot of organizations were counting on that money, but it was not continued. So as organizations were continuing to bring their audiences back and dealing with inflation and rising cost pressures, stepping in with this festivals program was a really big lifeline, not just to keep those festivals going for the opportunities for artists they create, for the community members, but also for the knock-on economic impacts of bringing so many tourists to town for these festivals. So we were really grateful. The trust stepped up with $250,000 for 2025 to get that initial festivals grant off the ground. They've committed that for 26-27 again, so we're just launching that program so that all of our festivals through the summer and all the way through March will be supported again. Some examples here from a more regional perspective. Of course, the Caslow Jazz Fest is on there. Nelson's wonderful International Mural Fest, Elephant Mountain Lit Fest, and that's with all those folks very enthusiastically in the bottom, Tiny Lights up in Weimar. And this is what I'm very excited to let you know about because this is open to municipalities. We've just received a contract to administer the Columbia River Public Art Program. The trust committed $1.5 million to this program over 3 years, and we are about to launch the first intake in late April. Mark your calendars for April 21st if all goes well. And this is really a placemaking initiative that celebrates communities' connections to the Columbia watershed, the Columbia River watershed and system. So it's a really great way to celebrate the place-based nature of how we live here in the Columbia Basin. Really wide range of interpretation there. We're expecting mural proposals, sculptures, really any kind of permanently installed public art project is eligible. So we're anticipating applications from both municipalities and nonprofits. We're looking at grants in the range of $50,000 to $70,000, and there's quite a long intake. So we'll launch in April. Applications will be due in September with quite a quick turnaround there. And you'll have great support from us at the office around working within best practices for artist compensation and those sorts of pieces. So that's the Columbia River Public Art Program. And given that the City of Nelson has such wonderful infrastructure already in place for getting public art up and out in the community, I hope you will be giving us a call. And as we wrap up, again, we want to acknowledge the support of the Columbia Basin Trust that has supported all of the funds for our grant initiatives. We've got our contact information there if you'd like to learn more, if you'd like to direct organizations or artists to our programs. And again, I'll leave these here. You can see what else is going on in the community.
Excellent. Councillor Woodward and then Councillor Page.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you very much for that. That was great. My curiosity around all of these grants is, artists do need to make money for themselves to live. And I'm wondering, like you have here, that applicants are expected to follow professional best practices for artist compensation. So within these grants, is money carved out for people to actually do the art and to live? To be part of their life, or is that something separate that they have to work to do, and that these are really just for producing the art itself?
Right, we definitely want to see artist fees included when there's professional arts activity involved in these grants. Within that public art initiative, given the size of the grant, we're specifically saying we expect to see full CARFAC rates. That's the organization that releases a minimum fee schedule for these sorts of things. In smaller, more community-based programs, we realize that there's often a negotiation between full professional standards and what is common in the community context. So sometimes we do have community projects that don't involve professional artists, for instance, they're more community-led. But even in that case, we want to see artists compensated for their labor for sure.
So that is part of this whole milieu,
Very
people are
much.
getting a wage.
Yeah, you'll, at least when I'm consulting with people, we recommend that they put an artist fee in there, because often they just don't do that.
Right.
So it's like the first line in our budget forms, just to try to encourage people to keep that in their project.
And it's funny how often we have to encourage artists to do
That's
that,
true.
because there are so many grants out there that don't actually cover the salaries and time for artists to do their work. So yeah, it's a common thread of encouragement.
Okay, thank you very much.
Else page?
Thanks. Just looking at that number, that 50 to 70, is that the pocket for Nelson? I may have just not caught it, or are we expecting typical grants to be individually in that range?
For the Public Art Initiative,
Yeah.
50 to 70. So each grant will be $50,000 to $70,000. Yeah.
Just helpful for those kinds of scales of
Yeah,
projects.
for sure.
Well,
That's the
good
range.
question. Yeah, and that doesn't necessarily need to be your whole budget. We anticipate the grants themselves will be up to 70,000.
Amazing, that sounds amazing. Thanks.
That's quite a big one.
I have some ideas.
You can't have to do that. That's good. So I like to hear.
For Chris.
Any other questions, councillors? Can I ask one question? Does all of your money come from CBT?
Not all for the organization, but all for our granting programs currently.
Okay, can you just name a couple of the other agencies that you get funding from, please?
We receive operating from the BC Arts Council, significant project funding from the Canada Council as well. Some other sponsorships in there. Nelson Kootenay Lake Tourism supports Culture Tour. We have community advertisers for projects like Articulate, so some additional earned revenue in there as well.
Gaming.
Oh, gaming, BC
Gaming.
Gaming also. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, seeing no other questions, I just want to thank both of you for coming and giving us an update and letting us know that there is money. It's just like, it's, you know, when you come and you talk about money to a council, it's like music to our ears. So it's very cultural.
Especially that big
I
one
see what
that
you
we
did
just,
there.
yeah. That's gonna be a good one.
Wonderful. Good. Well, I asked you for something last time, so I figured I had to balance it out. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Yes, thanks a lot. Thank you very much. Okay, so the next item on our agenda is public participation. And so I'm just wondering if anyone from the public that's in the room tonight has any comments that they would like to share with council. Okay, everybody's hands are, as they used to always say, firmly glued to their seats. Okay, so moving on then, we are going to go on to item number 12, delegations. And our first delegation is Dementia Friendly City. So Danielle Bywater, are you here? Come on up and have a seat. And if you've got somebody that you wanted to bring and have sit with you, that's great. From the Alzheimer's Society of British Columbia and Yukon, and Colleen Driscoll, and Liz Amaral of the local Dementia Friendly Initiative Steering Committee will present to council regarding the development of a dementia-friendly community. The group will provide an overview of dementia, discuss the growing prevalence of dementia in British Columbia, and highlight the social barriers often experienced by individuals living with dementia and their caretakers. The presenters will also outline practical actions municipalities can take to support inclusive, dementia-friendly communities and encourage council to consider several local initiatives. So, over to the two of you, Danielle and Liz. Nice to see you again, Liz. I haven't seen you for a long time.
Thank you, Mayor Morrison and City Council and City staff members. My name is Danielle Bywater. I'm a Support and Education Coordinator with the Alzheimer's Society of BC and Yukon's First Link program, and I'm based in Nelson and support the West Kootenays. The Alzheimer's Society of BC and Yukon is the only charitable organization in the province and territory that's dedicated to supporting people affected by dementia. Our vision is a world where people living with dementia can thrive as hope, community, and research unlock new possibilities, and we're making that happen by working alongside people who are affected by dementia to change the conversation, to change the experience, and to change the future of living with dementia. Let's start by looking at just what dementia is. So the word dementia is actually an umbrella term, which describes many symptoms that are caused by diseases that cause physical degenerative changes in the brain. You probably are all familiar with Alzheimer's disease, which is the most common, but you may have heard of vascular dementia, frontotemporal dementia, Lewy body dementia, and many other forms. Some of the most common symptoms include memory loss that is severe enough to impact your day-to-day functioning, problem-solving difficulties, impaired judgment, attention and concentration challenges, disorientation, confusion, communication challenges, vision and perceptual changes, and also physical changes. As I mentioned, there are many types of dementia, literally hundreds. But what they all have in common is that they're going to get worse over time because the changes to the brain are permanent and non-reversible. Dementia is eventually terminal. And while there have been some key advances in research, currently there is no proven prevention or cure. And while people over the age of 65 have a higher likelihood of developing dementia, it does occur in younger people as well. We call this young onset dementia. Now, no two people will ever experience dementia in exactly the same way, depending on the type of dementia, the rate of progression, their underlying capabilities, life experiences, and personality, which is why we like to say, if you've met one person living with dementia, you've met one person living with dementia. One of the biggest issues that we face when we're supporting people affected by dementia is stigma and discrimination. In fact, it's the largest barrier for people living with dementia to live fully in their community with dignity and respect. This can include being treated differently by business professionals based on assumptions about their abilities. Could be family and friends backing away and being excluded from community, recreation, and entertainment programs. Over time, this stigma and discrimination can cause embarrassment and shame, which have a profound impact on a person's confidence and willingness to participate fully in the community. It can also cause people to hide or ignore their symptoms, which impacts their willingness to seek out medical advice, which could delay a diagnosis and delay access to treatments that are only available early in the disease. And research shows that staying socially connected is essential for maintaining brain health. When people are isolated or withdraw from the community, it actually makes the effects of dementia more severe. How many of you sitting here know someone who's affected by dementia? And I would guess there's a majority, as in 2022, the Alzheimer's Society of Canada released part 1 of a landmark study on dementia, which indicated that 2/3 of Canadians were already affected by dementia. And in 2022, there was approximately 85,000 people in British Columbia affected by dementia. And if these trends continue, by 2030, it's expected to double, 2050 expected to triple. And the study also revealed that 60% of people living with dementia still live at home in the community. And we anticipate this will continue, as we know our province has a challenge with long-term care beds. So how can a dementia-friendly community help? Well, this is a community where everyone plays a role in creating spaces and interactions that are understanding, accepting, and inclusive of people living with dementia, leading to a community where people can feel confident and safe to stay involved in day-to-day life. And this benefits all members of the community, not just those who are affected by dementia. The first step is to allow people to understand what dementia is and what types of changes someone affected by it may be experiencing. I'd like to turn this over to Liz Amaral, a local community member, to share her experience as a care partner and how a dementia-friendly community could have made a difference in her life.
So acknowledging that the disease of dementia is affecting someone in your family or your neighborhood is not easy. This disease can carry, as Danielle's saying, a great deal of stigma. My husband David, in the early stages of his frontotemporal dementia, wrote and drew what it was like to experience this brain illness. One of his pictures is this one here that I'll share with you tonight. It's called The Mask of Fear. David described it, and I quote, "This is the picture of my mask of fear. I was very unsettled this morning about the upcoming video conference to clarify my brain deterioration. I have powerful and conflicting emotions about receiving a verdict on my cognitive condition. I fear being labeled demented and the further limitations, restrictions people may put on me." End of quote. So my question for you tonight is, how might we structure Nelson so that it is not a city of fear for those with dementia?
Thank you, Liz. And this leads us to what our asks are. We ask that the City of Nelson create a dementia-friendly subcommittee to augment the work that is already being done by the age-friendly and accessibility boards, to include dementia-friendly principles in your action plans. By making a proclamation that lets the community know that this is something that City Council values, and it encourages businesses, services, organizations, and community groups to take their own steps to become dementia-friendly. And a good first start is to commit to providing dementia training to all city staff that have a public-facing role or whose policies impact people affected by dementia. The Dementia Friendly Community Initiative can help you by providing dementia education, recognizing the challenges that a person living with dementia might be experiencing, providing you reliable, consistent information and guidance and workplace-specific learning tools on effective communication and support for somebody living with dementia. Our committee consults to build physical-friendly environments, supporting people of all ages. It could be people with comprehension challenges, people who have difficulty processing sensory information, parents with strollers, or even visitors to our community. Creating calm, welcoming spaces that help people feel secure, oriented, and able to participate in their daily life. Because a dementia-friendly society's safety is not just harm reduction and prevention. And creating environments that are familiar yet distinct. For example, are the signs for the bathrooms easy for people to recognize and understand? As well, do our spaces have proportions that are not overwhelmingly large or confusing? And the committee can also help consult on developing dementia-inclusive municipal programs, business strategies such as dementia-friendly dining or shopping hours, as well as creating work practices for staff to support and empower people living with dementia. To find out more about getting started or to see what some other municipalities around the province have done, we invite you to visit our these web pages to download the local community toolkit, as well as look at dementia-friendly action plans from other municipalities across the province, or check out the City of Vernon's webpage, where we worked with them to develop age-friendly and dementia-friendly community plans. I want to thank you again for allowing us to speak tonight and allowing us to present this. We're really excited about taking some steps to make Nelson more dementia-friendly. For any information, please reach out to myself or Colleen Driscoll, who's our steering committee chair, and as well for anyone in the room who's affected by dementia and you would like more information, resources, or support, please call our First Link Dementia helpline. We want you to know you're not alone. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, do you have any questions? Councillor Payne, and then Councillor Woodward.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I did go ahead and look at the plans from the other communities. One of the things that I think is also relative, you mentioned the number of people that are currently suffering from dementia, but on that same site, I saw that there are 50,000 unpaid caregivers giving 70 million hours of care to those individuals. So I think in our community where did I write down the? Yeah, seniors are 19.8% of our community. Does that sound? I think that might have been a couple of years old, that information, but I got it from the census. Not out of line with the rest of British Columbia, but you know, when you said 3 years, growing significantly, in 2040 it'll be 28% of our community will be 65 plus. And it's not a blanket, but it's something that I think it's critically important for us sitting here to recognize that there needs to be some preparation, not only for the individuals who have dementia, but those caregivers. That's a huge part of the population. See what that's like, just the supports around that. So thank you for your work in this. It was really fascinating to see what's happening.
Thank you, Council.
Councilor.
Thank you, Mayor. My question is, what would be the crossover of what you're advocating for and the general accessibility work that I think is that, you know, any time we're doing work in the city, there has to be accessibility blended in there. So I'm wondering, is some of that answering some of what you're advocating for, or is it kind of a different level?
Sort of to supplement the work that accessibility is doing, because not all accessibility questions have taken dementia considerations into place, and some of the recommendations or some of the modifications for people living with dementia can also be useful for everyone else. So it's really just adding another lens to look through policies and municipal programs. Just one other set of criteria when we're looking at is something truly accessible.
Okay, it's good to keep in mind. Thank you.
Okay, seeing no further questions, I just want to thank both of you for coming and everybody else in the back. Robin, Colleen, way at the back there. I think I know that person right at the back, but I forget her name. Thanks. Okay, so thank you again for coming and thank you for the information. Councillor Payne?
Further thing, I'm trying to understand, as you're talking, I'm trying to think of situations, and I went to the new bus terminal, so we have the brand new bus, not terminal, but
Transfer station.
Exchange, up there, and I'm looking at it, trying to have this lens, and wondering what areas of the provincial government have a focus on that they're bringing that lens to those sorts of build out in our community as well. Are they recognizing and doing the same work around that lens of making transit friendlier?
It's a really good question. We are consistently advocating with the provincial government to have a dementia plan. In fact, it was one of our key messages during the last provincial election was to ask what are the dementia plans for the community, because with our aging population, we know that we can't wait too long before we decide to do something.
Okay, Councillor Tate.
Thanks, Your Worship. And this might not be for you folks, and it might be for staff. I'm curious, did the province ever get any traction on that Canada Health transfer proportion to demographics? There had been some provincial requests to look at funding to British Columbia, and because of the warmer climes, having a higher number of seniors. I wonder, is that an FCM thing?
Could be, but we'd have to do more research.
Okay, yeah.
And I don't know
Good
if the
question.
province is
No.
asking, you'd brought it up, about having accountability standards to certain parts of the funding.
Exactly, and as far as I can recollect, so what's changed in the last couple of years, I don't know, but I mean, transfer payments have always come with no strings attached, which has always been problematic in my mind, and for a few people in the room, they know I've been in healthcare all of my life, so this is an ongoing issue for me when we don't maybe direct the money a little bit more from the feds. They just kind of write a check and then it goes into the provincial atmosphere, and it's different in every province. Yeah, so some, we can continue to ask for some guidelines for where there needs to be some more, like, you don't want to earmark necessarily all of it, but maybe they need to start earmarking when they do their transfer payments. The idea is to make sure that we continue to get transfer payments, because the federal government isn't that much more wealthier than the provincial government, so
Yeah, it's a tough time, that
it
is
will be
for
a
sure.
question that, for those of us that are going to FCM, if we can find any health-related deputy ministers or ministers, we should be asking that question.
Well, and Josie, the Minister of Health, is gonna be in Trail.
Yeah, at AKBLG. So she might be able to answer the question as to how much we're getting in federal payments and what that's looked like over the last few years.
Interesting.
Just in general, coming into the provincial coffers. Councillor Payne.
So then that's the ministry that we would be advocating to at UBCM, to find out what movement they're making on this.
Yes.
Is that, okay. So that's not anything we actually put in our resolutions for AKBLG, but still something we can consider.
And are there any FCM committees that are focused on this?
Specifically on healthcare, you're
Yeah.
gonna see, you'd maybe see more in the rural forum,
Okay.
where, cause I think there's more of a rural impact to that lack of funding, so I think that's where you would raise an issue such as this. And then to your point, like there's obviously different provinces have different thoughts about, you know, strings or no strings already. But to me, it almost feels like a request to the hospital board to write interior health more, if we're looking for concrete actions. Cause that's where, you know, when we look at interior health,
We
that's.
could, I mean, we could try. I mean,
That
it's,
letter would-
you know, it's a discussion to bring up in terms of accessibility in healthcare, and it's a discussion to bring up at any level. It's about trying to figure out, it's waiting for the one person around the table to, as you know, blink, that you know that you've kind of got them and that you've got some traction going forward. I mean, one of the biggest problems I see here, now we're talking here about making the community more friendly, so we wanna make sure that places are appropriately lit. It's always good to know who your neighbors are. I mean, I've known people that have had dementia that are long-term residents of Nelson, and when I know that they've wandered sort of beyond where they would normally go for their walk that they took for 50 years beforehand, but now they tend to get lost, I've pulled the car over and just said, come on, get in, it's getting to be a little bit cold out and I'll just drive you home. I mean, there's those parts, but one of the biggest problems that I see is the fact that the provincial government just recently froze building any more long-term care facilities. And there does come a time when, you know, as this disease progresses, that it's not easy for a care partner to continue to look for somebody after somebody at home. And I'm looking at Liz because Liz and I went through this together with David, and so you need to have those facilities. And facilities take a long time to build. What did we wait? We waited 20 years for a replacement for Mount St. Francis, and now we have a government that said, we're not building anything anymore right now. So where are the beds for those that need special care, which dementia patients often need, and just regular elderly people that need to have just advanced healthcare? So it's disappointing across the board in many regards, so. A big discussion. And it's always an interesting discussion we have at local government because we don't have any of that, we don't have any of the healthcare money, right? So we're just always asking where it's going, just so you understand as we have this discussion around the table that it is confusing. Councillor Tate, Councillor Lochtenberg, I see your hand up.
Thanks so much. To one of the asks, though, we do have that legislated accessibility plan. Does it have, from my recollection, I don't know that it has any age-related language in it. That could be something to send back to staff to take a look at.
Yeah, we can
That's
look
a
at what we're doing.
refer.
Yep.
Is that a refer or is that a just, would you mind?
Now we'll share this, Sarah leads that group, so we'll share this presentation with her and look at what Vernon has done and others, and training for staff, we can look at that as well.
And it truly isn't just an age thing, so I wanna be cautious about that because, I mean, we are unfortunately seeing dementia within the spectrum coming at a much younger age, so I'm always very cautious about giving dementia an age.
Thank you. And
So-
and I'm thinking also of with having the bus drivers in the city umbrella now and that front facing service. I know that we have all of our incredible staff downstairs and at the library, but as we kind of build out that portfolio, there's some opportunities there to build cultural capacity, right?
Sure, yeah. Anyways, once again, you can see, we could be here all night. Thinking about ideas, and we've all got good ones, and we all go places, so, when we find the right person is in the room and we can get them in the corner, we're a pretty knowledgeable group, around the table in terms of, and we get it because we hear from community groups like yourself, and it's just like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm gonna go and see him, because he said that word now 3 times, I'm going that way, so, yeah, we try our best when we're out and about and at things like FCM and UBCM, and when we have meetings with ministers, to try to make sure that we're delivering the message that we're getting delivered, by our community members.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
And next up, we have 12B, the Nelson Izu-Shi Friendship Society. And coming up, Jesus, not that much time away, in August 2027, the Friendship Society will commemorate the 40th anniversary of their sister city relationship. Wow. John Armstrong, Bernie Zimmer, and Grace DeVoe are here to present to council, reflecting on 4 decades of collaboration and sharing experiences. The society will also present proposed initiatives to mark this milestone and respectfully seeks council's feedback on ways to celebrate this enduring international partnership within the community. So, welcome.
Thank you.
And don't feel like you have to, like, if you wanna go, if you're a part of this first group, feel free that you can leave. If you wanna stay and listen to council, continue to stay and hear the next presentation.
Okay, well, good evening, and my name is John Armstrong. Okay.
They're gonna watch it online.
Okay.
I heard them all commit.
It's okay, we don't you're here, so. Yes, I'm John Armstrong, and Grace DeVoe and Bernie Zimmer are our 2 vice presidents. I'm going to give the presentation here, but Grace and Bernie will help with any challenging questions that you might have afterwards. So these photos of former Mayor Gerald Rodering signing the Sister City agreement with Shuzenji are dated August 1987. And next year in August 2027, Nelson and Izu-Shi will be celebrating our 40th anniversary as sister cities. And our presentation tonight will review some stories of these 40 years, share some of our plans for the anniversary, and ask for your ideas on how our community can celebrate this global friendship. Now, along with Gerald and some local dignitaries and an honor guard and people from Japan, there's 2 local men on the left of the picture. And one is a Mr. Jay Kozak, who's wearing a dark jacket and an open neck white shirt. And Mayor Rodering credits him with providing the initial information about the Japanese interest in sister cities, which led to this agreement. And Gerald told me that he didn't know about this before, but Mr. Kozak came and told him and made the contacts and got everything ready. And just behind him, with the glasses, is Mr. Brian McEwen, who is the first president of the Nelson Shuzenji Friendship Society. Now, after this, Mr. Kozak seems to have disappeared for a few years, but Brian McEwen got the Friendship Society off to a great start. And Sonia, how do I change this now? Click.
I can do it for you if you like.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So in this 1988 article in the Nelson Daily News, Brian described how a delegation from Japan had brought a scale model of a Nelson village planned for a park in Shuzenji. And it would include a Nelson station, they have a miniature little train, a Kootenay lake with a little orange bridge, a Baker Street boutique, and a replica of Nelson's original courthouse and later city hall. And they're all there. If you come to Izu-Shi, then you can see them all. That summer, the first exchange brought 26 junior high school students to Nelson. And in 1990, the first exchange delegation from Nelson which included Fire Chief Harry Somerville and Public Works Director and later Councillor Bob Adams. Pictured here with Lynn and their host family, traveled to our sister city for the opening of this Nelson Village. And many other Nelson exchanges followed during the next 20 years, with host families in both cities welcoming visitors into their homes, thanks to society leaders like June Spearman. And Bob remained a really strong supporter of the society and the Sister City Agreement for over 30 years. Okay, and this is, in 2003, Jim Sawada, Lloyd Mosley, other community leaders, and garden volunteers, who you see here, began fundraising and creating the Friendship Garden in Cottonwood Falls Park as our part of the original Sister City understanding. And they had done the Nelson Village, and so we did our Cottonwood Falls Park Friendship Garden.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
What was, before all your work at Public Park, what was there? What was it?
Well, Cottonwood Falls was always there,
Yes.
and in 1970, with the highways put in the overpass, and it changed it up a bit, but the creek, when, coming out of the little stone bridge there, that is part of the original. They diverted and made lots of changes above the highway there. And once that went in, it was kind of sort of like a park, but it wasn't really developed. But they did develop the farmers market down there. That's when they put in the wooden sheds and they had the market there. Still have it there, but the wooden sheds, of course, are gone.
Wasn't that a fish hatchery or something?
Yeah, that was before the highways put their work in there. There was a lot of stuff, and we have put up the historical signs in there. And it was really quite fascinating when John and I and the committee embarked on the signage thing. John and I were discovering a whole lot of things that we did not know about, and we had been residents of Nelson for many years.
Thank you.
Yeah, there was I think it was called an outdoorsman's park that sort of ran down the hillside, over like before the highway and all of that, and that sort of ran down to the creek. And after they built the highway, the remnants of that were still there. But let me continue with what Hiro Okusa, who is our landscape designer from Vancouver, had to say about his first visit. I remember we walked through the whole site where some places were still covered with snow and boulders were scattered around. It was a messy place. So these original builders and volunteers from the Nelson Garden Club and the Gyro Club and society members such as Rod and Jill Schultes, many others, continue to support and care for the garden over the next 10 years. And the society has recently designed a new sign. It's actually a replacement for an earlier one that had to be taken down, honoring the donors and contributors to the Friendship Garden to be placed within the original legacy gate. And one of the names on the new sign is that of Mr. J. Kozak. And this is 17 years after he helped to create the Sister City Friendship. And he made a significant personal donation to the new garden. And what's really interesting and puzzling is that no one other than Gerald remembers him. We've talked to lots of people who we thought, no, don't remember him. So we're still working on that, and I'm in touch with Greg Nesteroff, and we're going to try to see if we can track him down. We wanted to get his full name on the sign, and Gerald couldn't remember his name. He remembers him, but he just didn't have his name. But he's right up there, and if we can't find anything, he'll go as Mr. J. Kozak. But he's somebody that we didn't really know about until we started doing this presentation and recent projects. Anyway, in 2000, Sonia, thanks. In 2005, Shuzenji merged with its neighbors to become the new city of Izu-Shi, taking the name of the Izu Peninsula. And Mayor Dave Elliott signed the revised agreement that August with the new name. And that's why our friendship is with Izu-Shi and not Shuzenji. Shuzenji's still there, but it's just now part of a bigger city. So, in 2017, in honor of the 30th anniversary, the society, the Friendship Society, with renewed energy, organized a multi-generational exchange delegation to Izu-Shi in the spring. And this would be the first since before the 2011 earthquake, tsunami, and nuclear accident in northern Japan. And that year, we also designed and built a new gate as a main entrance to the park and garden on the west side of Cottonwood Creek, with much support from local companies, including Kolesnikov and Spearhead and others as well. Izu-Shi sent a return delegation that summer, and the Friendship Gate was officially opened at the 30th anniversary that August by Mayors Yutaka Kikuchi and Deb Kozak. And in both pictures here, both pictures, please notice the pile of dirt on the right. You won't see it again, but okay, thanks, Sonia. In 2019, both cities again set exchanges, but COVID came along and that meant another interruption of 5 years. We sent a third multi-generational group in 2024, but a combination of factors meant that no one from Izu-Shi actually came back that summer. And so while our exchanges have included people of almost all ages from, I think, 10 to about 80, Izu-Shi continues to focus almost exclusively on sending their junior high school students. And so in order to have more successful exchanges with more opportunities for young people to develop intercultural friendships, this year we're reaching out to Trafalgar and LV Rogers to more actively let students know that Nelson does have a sister city in Japan, and to try to interest and involve them. Get that those relationships, those younger friendships going again. The second picture shows Mayor Kikuchi and other civic leaders looking at cards written by Trafalgar students that we took over in 2024. And our next exchanges are planned for the 40th anniversary in 2027. Exchanges can take different forms. During COVID, we shared our cherry blossom photos, and exchange members in both cities got together later for a reunion on Zoom. And our counterparts in Izu-Shi celebrate Canada Day every year. So here you can see the replica Nelson Courthouse, City Hall, which from what I understand was actually just down here, but where Superior Lighting is, just not far away. It was taken down at some point. And Izu-Shi sent people over to look at the original drawings and build this replica. It's like maybe 2/3, there's 2 stories.
I think it's a 3/4 scale.
3/4? Yeah, okay. Art gallery upstairs, Sister City displays, gifts, things like that on the main floor. So it's a popular destination in the Nelson Village, and earlier this year we sent Oso Negro coffee, Dixie candies, maple leaf napkins, a tourism video, and copies of the Nelson Star for a Sister City promotional activity. And last year, several people wrote to us to say they were going to Japan and asked about visiting our sister city. So we contacted our friends there, and in each case, the Nelson visitors were very warmly welcomed. And I'd like to read what one family wrote on their return from Izu-Shi. What had stood out most was how much pride Izu-Shi takes in this relationship. It isn't just something written on a sign. It's thoughtfully created, carefully maintained, and truly valued by the community. You can feel that this friendship matters to them, and that meant so much to us as visitors from Nelson. In 2016, we started offering seasonal cultural events for the first time, beginning with a small Sakura Hanami cherry blossom viewing. And we've continued to host these community events, including the Summer Obon Family Picnic and Dancing, the Harvest Moon viewing at Otsukimi, and the colors of the Japanese Momichi maples at autumn leaves. Every July 1st, we introduce Izu-Shi at the Canada Day celebration in Lakeside Park. And these events all provide opportunities for Nelson residents to experience our sister city's culture. Not everybody can go to Japan, but they can come to our events and get a little taste of what that feels like. In 2024, the Society received a grant from the Japanese Canadian Legacies Fund and put on 15 cultural activities, including a hyper drumming performance at the Capitol Theatre and a very popular Nabe hot pot dinner, largely thanks to Grace DeVoe here and her committee work in doing all that. And this past year, we sent out New Year's Negajo cards to our host families and friends in Izu-Shi and friends and supporters here in Nelson. And we're looking forward to a Canadian-Japanese cultural event with our visitors from Izu-Shi at our 40th anniversary. So for over 20 years, the Society volunteers have helped to make the Friendship Garden a safe, accessible, welcoming, and beautiful destination and a bridge to our sister city. And when I was listening to the previous presentation, I thought, I hope that people with dementia can come here and it's accessible, it's human scale, it's safe, and I think, I know Lee Reed would support that too, I think. I don't know if she's still here, but our members are there, sometimes almost daily, maintaining the garden, working on projects, picking up garbage, removing weeds and graffiti, and greeting visitors and tourists. Bernie is very good at talking with people, and Jennifer back here. We really enjoy, the rest of us too, we really enjoy meeting people from all over the world who come to Nelson. And the Visitor Center sends them to the garden, and we talk to them and give them recommendations about other places to go. So with support from the city, Columbia Basin Trust, local businesses, and skilled tradespeople, we've renewed the main garden and built the market oval stone wall and the planters there. And last year we planted 5 new cherry trees. We've held professional pruning workshops, commissioned a creekside inventory from Kinseed, and contracted with Seekis to remove goutweed in the garden along the creek. On the west side, we've created a completely new garden with pathways, stone steps, and viewing areas with safety railings. And working with the museum and Public Works, we relocated those 2 original artifacts from the 1896 electric light station to their original site. And more recently, we completed a mobility accessible pathway right up to the waterfall viewpoint. And if you remember that pile of dirt, the picture on the left with the 3 lovely volunteers, that's what it looks like now. And just in this section, finally, we very much appreciate being chosen for the city's Heritage Award in 2024 for our signage project. And I'm very pleased to announce tonight that the Cottonwood Creek Signage Project has been nominated for a Provincial Heritage BC Award in the category of Education, Communications, and Awareness.
Congratulations.
That's what we thought too. Yeah. So we understand that Mayor Kikuchi hopes to visit Nelson again for the 40th anniversary in August 2027. Along with a community celebration, the Society hopes to create a legacy symbol of our 40-year sister city relationship in Cottonwood Falls Park, much like we did with the 30th anniversary Friendship Gate. So for this project, we're looking at renewing the central stones feature shown here to become a more attractive, welcoming centerpiece for the garden and the park. So this year we plan to remove several of the overgrown boxwoods, extend the bed out into what is now the gravel pathway on this side, and incorporate a Japanese-style garden water feature with a micro waterfall, tiny stream, and a small shallow reflecting pond. This would be sheltered by a variety of flowering plants that also grow in Izu-Shi. So azaleas, hydrangeas, lilies, the remaining boxwoods, and a small Japanese maple would sort of kind of go around this area and provide changing colors throughout the year to welcome park visitors. And then low bamboo fencing, short wooden benches, and a commemorative plaque would complete the renewal next spring. And just one more, I think, to finish here. In preparing for our 40th anniversary, we intend to continue to promote awareness of the sister city relationship and try to involve Nelson citizens in this special friendship and in the celebration in 2027. So more of what we've been doing. In considering the state of the world today and the Friendship Society's purposes, this is clearly a time when we need deep local and global friendships and understanding of other cultures in the face of threats to world peace and prosperity. As you can see, many people have contributed to this sister city friendship over these 40 years, and certainly including this council, mayor, which we very much appreciate. But in closing, we'd like to ask for council's support and participation as the community continues to develop our ties with the people of Izu-Shi. So thank you very much for listening, and if you have any questions now, Grace and Bernie are quite happy to answer it. Thank you.
Councillor Payne?
I was really intrigued when in 2024, I believe you said you did you got the cultural grant and you did all of the events, none of which I was quick enough to sign up to actually attend, unfortunately. And having the West Kootenay Regional Art Council here presenting their festivals and granting process, have you ever looked at that would you consider doing something like that again? I know it's a lot of work, but it was a tremendous event, and maybe there would be some funding through that. I'm just trying to think how I can ever get a chance to go to some of those events.
Yes, it was a wonderful event. I mean, there were a number of really exciting events, but the Nabe Hot Pot was very popular. We have been looking at different kinds of grants to see what we can get for things. Like we've looked at the Osprey grant, and but we're also doing so many things also, so it's kind of hard to,
It's a lot, I appreciate that.
get too much going at once, right? Yeah. But we certainly have that in mind, thank you.
I'll be quicker next time.
Okay, Councillor Page, you're next.
I didn't have any questions, but I
Your
love
hand go up.
everything that you do, and I.
Councillor Woodward, I've got a list here, but I thought I saw your hand go up. Councillor Woodward.
Thank you.
So thank you for, well, there's so many layers. I just want to say it's a spectacular apartment. I've been involved in that area for a while and over the time in the last many years. And it's just, the development is just fabulous. It's kind of stunning to think how far it's come in the last 15 years, 20 years. But I wanted to say something I saw in this kind of exchange world is where you have a live feed from one area of the world, like an actual television, to this area. So you could actually have a live feed, like if you were doing a celebration at the park, you could have a large screen television with the sister city and us. And people come on and say hi and talk to each other in the park. I've seen that in like maybe Olympics or something where people are sharing friendship across the world through technology.
Yeah, we have. You want to answer?
We have done something like that on a bit of a limited scale, partly because the time change difference.
Of course.
And so it's like, okay, if we do this at 6 o'clock in the evening, they might come online at 8 o'clock in the morning, that. So it's a little bit awkward in that sense. We have done where we've, filmed various things in the park and sent that over and, have exchanges like that. Maybe John can elaborate.
We did a Zoom thing, I remember during COVID also with them, which was kind of fun.
Yeah.
I just thought if you were doing like a celebration in the park, that would be an interesting component, that you could actually say hi to people on the other side of the world in our sister city. But I do just want to again say thank you for all your work. You've added such an incredible jewel in our sort of hidden, but so wonderful when you come around. Like there it is. So thank you so much.
I want to acknowledge Jennifer back there in the crowd.
Thank you, Jessie.
Because she spent so much time in the gardens to keep it clean and, just
to your point there, we have talked about trying to do something like that. If we could arrange sister city clubs in the two high schools, our junior high or high school and their junior high school. And so we were able to do something in one kind of the late afternoon, we might get the other one in the early morning, just so those young people could actually see each other and maybe do a little something. But yeah, if we could get to that, it would be great. And if we could do it for our events in the park, it would be very special.
The tech is all there.
Yeah.
It's very mature, it's really working well. I guess the time change is a huge difference, but that technology piece is definitely fully available.
Yeah, we
Okay, thank you.
be very interested in doing more of those kinds of things, because we have relationships with those people, those of us that have been on the exchange. There's people there, people that have come here that we know, and it's like old friends, so.
Councilor Lockwood.
This might be a question for staff. We just heard the presentation before from the Arts Council, and there's a public arts funding that they're providing now up to, if I remember, 50
to 70.
50 to 70?
50 to 70.
I'm wondering if it's a capacity issue in terms of applying for the grant. Is this something that the city could support with, just to get that grant? Because I imagine 50 or 70,000 for some, additional, or the fountain thing, funding for that. But to me, this seems like a great match. Yeah.
Sounds like it has to celebrate the Columbia River somehow.
Oh, well,
Tributary.
I mean, it's a
Part of
cottonwood.
yeah.
But consider you've got water, you got the
Yeah.
thing, you're at the Cottonwood Creek. I'm sure we can make the connection.
But we are
Thank you.
meeting
She said
with,
the Columbia watershed.
I think we are gonna meet with them
Okay.
in the next little while. I think Natalie reached out to you guys.
Yes, I think, yeah.
So I've already
Thanks,
reached out to Sydney and Joyanne on this grant. But
Oh, perfect.
they already have some ideas, so. But I'll throw them all out there.
Yeah, but even some of the smaller ones, I mean, the whole thing is I think that
Yeah.
many of us see Kaylee around, and maybe people see Lily as well, as that perhaps we can ask them if
Yeah.
they can
Mhm.
interpret whether or not any of these things could benefit the society, right?
Sure.
So,
Yeah, we looked into the mural festival one year, and I guess it's Sydney that said they would arrange to have a mural from Izu-Shi if the quality the thing would. But Izu-Shi just doesn't have anybody who does big murals on the sides of buildings, so that we weren't able to get that. We could get an artist to do something small, but not at that scale. But that we need to keep looking for possibilities. So thanks for the ideas.
and that's it. Do I have any other counselors with questions? Okay, seeing none.
May I just make one last comment? Certainly, we are very grateful to City Council for the support that you've given us. But one comment I wanted to make, John had made reference when Hiro Okasa came for the original design of the park, and he said, it's messy. And then John referred to that again after the installation of the gate in 2017. And that pile of dirt was actually the neatest part of the mess in behind there. And so we had that newly erected gate, and it was extremely shabby. And that's when we approached the city to ask permission to work on that side. And so thank you for that. We had eager volunteers, and little by little it came together. And just last year, I was walking in the garden with Jennifer, and I stood back in the parking lot at the Rod and Gun Club, and I went, wow,
It's fantastic.
nothing was there before. And now it's, those little plantings that we started are mature bushes and trees, and so thank you for your support in going.
Might I ask, is the original architect that came in from, he came from Vancouver, did he not?
Vancouver, you're over,
Yeah.
yeah.
Is he still alive?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's just really retired from gardening. He's the one who gave the 2 professional pruning workshops.
Right.
And before that, he came and did the pruning, and we didn't have anything more to offer.
Yeah, hopefully he will be able to come for part of your celebration time. It would be wonderful for him to be
Yes,
here.
Yeah, we hope he could.
Yeah.
He did have some health issues, some heart issues,
Yeah.
just a few months ago, so.
Actually, Mayor, may I just wanted to, may I ask a question along this line? I'm wondering, do you feel like I'm a little worried about people getting too old to move rocks and getting dirt. Do you have younger people coming in and helping?
Oh, Bernie's got the sitting on speed dial.
There are some younger members of the society, but I think we're pretty much at the end of, in a sense, major projects.
Yeah.
There'll always be something to do and things to maintain. This project that we're hoping for, that we would do this year in anticipation of guests coming next year, I think that would be sort of the last of the major. And what we're looking at is, it's not super huge. It will involve some work. What we're hoping for is a little bit of a water feature of a small waterfall in the stream and a bit of a reflection pond. But there's a whole lot of things that we have to determine that we're going to be able to have it. And as soon as you say pond, all this liability comes up, and so we don't want to be going gung-ho on something that we can't approve. So we're hoping to bring something into Kevin and the administration to just get the initial, just to make sure we can do it. But what we're looking at, we're not looking at a swimming pool type of thing. We're looking at a fairly shallow pond. We would make it as deep as what does not create a liability. We don't want to have lifeguards there or anything like that, but it's really just a small reflection pond, not that big. It's kind of contained, set up so that it's it's not conducive to people
You're
running
saying
through it.
Major construction is basically done, and then now it's maintaining.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And those 2 guys carrying the boulder, we don't do that anymore.
Right.
We've got equipment now.
Yes. Thank you.
Because most of the boulders are moved.
Yeah, very much. Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, you guys.
Okay, thank you very much for coming in and giving us an update, and look forward to all of the offerings that you keep bringing out quarterly with your festivals during the summer and the activities down there at the park. It seemed to me that last year there's a couple of rainy days when you were having some of your celebrations, so fingers crossed that the sun shines more this year for some of your events down there.
Well, and we hope you can all come to our cherry blossom Sakura Hanami, which normally is sometime around the end of April, beginning of May. It depends on the cherry blossom, so we won't announce it until we're closer. But we really, if you can't make it on that day, please come to the park another day. The cherry blossoms are beautiful, and they're there for about 2 weeks. And
Yeah, it's lovely. So
All
once
right,
again,
thank you.
thank you so much. Okay, council, we had no late items, so if I could have a resolution to adjourn, but just a reminder, you can't go home, because we will be going into a special meeting. So moved by Councillor Lockenberg, seconded by Councillor Woodward. All those in favor of adjournment from the committee of the whole? And that carries. Thank you very much. We'll have just a couple, stand up and stretch, Sonia needs a few minutes to switch everything over and get everything.
I want a walking desk.